for a lot of people, including me. You're the guy behind the comic Battle Chasers.
Yes, Battle Chasers I worked on many years ago, it seems like.
How did you go from comics to working in the games industry?
I've been addicted to games since I was a kid, and even when I had a successful career in comics, I was always playing games. All my friends knew it, and I had made a lot of contacts over the years at video game companies, and they were all always saying, "You should come work here. People here love your stuff." And eventually, the timing never seemed right, but at some point I had worked on comics so long, and I wanted to give games a try, and I felt like if I made a serious attempt at it, I could pull it off, and I just went for it.
What's the major difference between working in comics and working in games?
Oh my God!
Except, of course, the whole game factor.
Yeah, the sheer size of the production is crazy. I mean, in comics, for myself personally, it's just me with my music on and just drawing and writing, and it's more personal. There's a lot more creative freedom as far as that in that respect. In games, our team is over 100 people now at Vigil. There's tons of planning and meetings and producers and there's just a lot. It's a lot more complicated. But the end result is cool too. There's a lot that you don't get in comics, like animation and sound and music and voice recording, and it's very exciting. It's very different.
Were you ready?
I think I've learned a little bit, every year, and everyone kind of gets better at what they do, as the years progress, and I think I was ready.
The backstory for Darksiders about War, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. How did that come to be?
Actually, I was driving in my car, and I thought, man, it would be so cool. We knew we wanted a very epic setting that was very powerful, very simple to convey. Good and evil, heaven and hell, demons and angels, and it would be. I thought it would be cool if there was a neutral party that wasn't on either side, and the Four Horsemen were something that always fascinated me, and they're really cool because everyone has a reaction to it. They kind of have heard of the Four Horsemen, but they don't know anything about them. Even in the Book of Revelation, they have like one sentence each about them. I mean, there's very little information, so there's so much room for interpretation, and there aren't many characters like that where they're so well known all throughout the world, but there's nothing about them, really. I mean, it really is all interpretation, and it's open for anyone to do what they want with them. And so we just seized that opportunity.
You said you were driving in your car?
I was driving in my car, and we had talked about so many ideas for what our first game would be at Vigil, and for whatever reason, one way or another, we just didn't like it, or it didn't come together. And then I was driving in my car after one of those meetings, and I called in and I said, "Hey, what about the Four Horsemen? Angels and demons on Earth?" And everyone got instantly excited about it, and we just started fleshing it out, and it was the one. It just came together immediately after that. It was bizarre.
We just came from a presentation of the game and saw names like Tiamat and Samuel. Where do you get most of the design inspiration from?
A lot of the names, in the game are, they have some loose, reference to religious characters, and not only from Christian religion, but various religions. But the references are very light. It's like a name here and there. Most of the inspiration really just comes from my background in comics. We wanted to keep it very epic fantasy adventure. When you hear Four Horsemen and the apocalypse, it could get very dark very quickly, and we wanted to keep it an adventure story, not a horror story. So even though there's monsters and things in it, they're very just cool looking, like old monster movie type monsters. It's not like some gory, horror film. Like it's more fun.
Don't take this the wrong way, but if we look at Darksiders as a basic concept of a third-person action game, we have you collecting souls, you're killing hundreds of monsters. It's a concept that's been tried before. What do you think Darksiders do? What have you aimed to do differently?
I think the combination of the story, the setting, the characters, the visceral combat, but in a more open gameplay structure. It's actually fairly new. I think there's the horse that we haven't really showed a lot of yet. At some point you get ruined. That's the name of War's steed. And there's a lot of gameplay on the horse, which is pretty different. But I think a lot of games of this type force you down the story path, and you can never go back, as you progress the story. And in Darksiders, we wanted the world to open up more to you as War became more powerful. He's actually unlocking more and more of the world. So, whereas other games sort of close off the world behind you, our world actually grows and gets bigger and bigger because you can explore more of it as you get new abilities and new items and things like that help you unlock the world. So you can always go back and explore areas you've been in. And in that respect, it's a little more like classic adventure games like Zelda, Metroid, Castlevania, it's been compared to. But you really have to get your hands on it and play it to discover that. On the surface, it does look like a combat game because, that is one of the coolest things to show people. They love seeing demons' heads come flying off and things like that. So that is what we tend to show. But once you get into the game, I'm confident that there's a lot there that will surprise people.
One of the puzzles that was shown was a kind of typical move boxes around puzzle. But you mentioned that as the game progresses, it becomes more and more complicated. Can you give examples of another puzzle?
We have one item we haven't really showed yet that allows you to create and manipulate portal surfaces that is not unlike a game that was out fairly recently. But using these portal surfaces, you can throw items through them, you can push enemies through them, you can push things onto enemies through them. You can even fire portals through portals and manipulate things in the environment using them in fun ways. So, the puzzles that come out of using that thing, honestly, I have trouble with them. I'm like, hey, can somebody help me pass this thing? All of the dungeons focus quite a bit of puzzles in them, and that's also something that I think you don't instantly expect when you're just looking at it from the outside and just seeing all the combat. Is that there really is a lot of adventure in there. It's not just a hack and slash game. And
just kind of a personal question that I have to ask: are you working on the Warhammer 40k MMO as well?
Yes. I mean, we have announced that Vigil is working on the 40k MMO, but that's about as much as I can say about it at this time.
Not even to me personally?
No.
Please?
Now let's talk next year.
Sounds good to me. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.